Alright, I'm gonna finish this guy up. Come down here and work in here. Get some more definition going. And I did notice when I stood back, this is a little wonky, so I'm gonna fix that because we don't want wonky center sections here. So I'm gonna make that come down, down, and a little bigger. And I'm gonna add a little bright violet to make it a little darker. Okay. May not be the exact right shape, but I want to make sure it's kind of straight. Okay, so we're gonna come over here and finish up in here. So we're gonna go with the Quinn purple. Okay. Start drawing some of these shapes in with my brush. Put a little pigment. If you have too much pigment, you won't get a thin line. So sometimes you gotta ditch a little and still had a little masking there. Okay, we're just drawing this in with our Quinn purple. Just kind of hit or miss, doing some lines, some shapes. Okay, there's like a big dark circle with a little highlight. Rinse, get a little bright violet. Switch to some pyrol red. I'm gonna add a little pyrol in here. Just gives a couple more little colors in that center section, a little more visual interest. All right, what's happening over here? We're gonna soften this in a, well, I guess we better do it before we do the filament. So I'm gonna get my scrubber brush. Softening, I have red on my brush. I'm just gonna add some little interesting things. Soften. Okay, now we're gonna switch to purple. This guy's pretty dark. Really use the tippy your brush. He kind of fades off into nowhere, so let that happen. And then I'm going to switch to Little opera. And add a little quinn purple with the opera there. Okay. And while I have not too much on my brush, I'm just gonna do that line. It's kind of like a shadow of a line or something. Same with this, just so much glare on this that they're all soft. Okay. I'm gonna get some ultramarine blue. Okay, so this squiggly line, let's see. There's kind of a rectangle here. Squiggle there. I think, am I in the right place? Yeah. And then there's like a circle there. Like that. And then this, I'm gonna switch to the purple. This comes from here up. From here up. Get a little opera. Okay, switch back to the ultramarine. Pull a couple other little lines. Okay. Soften anything else up we don't like. Add anything, any more definition that we need over there. Okay. All right, and then we'll just go through and clean up any areas. Like this light bulb needs a little work. You can literally just soften a lot of the lines, but you do want to add color into some, so you're not getting a lot of gray. So I might get some horizon blue and throw that back in that. Remember to stay kind of in your rows of colors, but there are a few things that jut across. Tone this little dot down a little blue. All right, let me see what I need to do to this guy. Okay. This needs a little softening. Soften a little. I'm gonna throw a little wisteria. Maybe a little more. just soften that with a little wisteria. And just clean up anything else. The other hard lines. Just softening. All right, I'm about to call it done. And then I will probably sign it here, maybe in red, over on this side. Just gonna go look and see. And remember to check your triangles of color. Added a little red in there because there's a lot of red going on. But check your triangles of color. If you have blue in one area, you want to make sure it's bouncing around in a triangle. If you have red, it's bouncing around. So make sure you got things bouncing around. Throw a little red over here. All right, I'm gonna call it done. Thank you guys. All right, I'm gonna finish this up. And I'm gonna come in here, work on this. All of this is dry now. I have the masking off of most of this. All of this guy except for down here. So we'll finish up this dude and then we'll move on. So I'm gonna grab my bright violet and I'm gonna come in and pull in this shape. So we have, let me see here. We have a shape that starts here. And it actually runs over that little ribbon of light, but it's kind of, you can see it through there. That's probably in the wrong spot. This is what I was talking about. You have to really look at the shape. And this bright violet shape is actually coming, it's along this ribbon of color. So that's where that shape is. And then comes down and around. All right, and we'll lift a little of that white ribbon up right there. All right, so now we're back on track. That's that. I'm gonna throw in a little pyrol over here. So this is pyrol. I'm gonna throw it in over here. There's a white column or yellow column, sorry, that I'm kind of missing in center here. All right, so let's clean this up. Okay. Better. I'm gonna clean the line and soften it. And then I'm gonna pull out that white ribbon that's running through. There we go. All right, now where's that yellow column? All right, so it runs on this side. So there's like two pieces to this middle column. There's like a yellowish side, and then there's the one that we did wisteria on earlier. I'm gonna scrub that out again too. Okay. And then this yellow shoots up through here, so I'm gonna scrub. So that's this side, and it's shooting up through here. All right, so we have that picked back up again, and then it feeds down here into the bottom section. Let's go work on that. We're gonna get our pyrol red, and we're gonna come and work in this area while I'm waiting on that to dry. So where does this start? So we need to find our identifier marks. There's a piece that was masked, the white. So this actually comes up to here. And down and around. Okay, straighten that up. It's got like a wing that juts out over here. Okay. All right, now we got some of that shape back in there. Let that dry for a second. I'm feeling better about that. We'll come down here and work on the threads. I'm gonna get my horizon blue and my ultramarine blue out. And we'll come over here. This is my horizon, and it's pulling a little of the Payne's gray or indigo sepia mix with it. So I just kind of pushed it, clean brush, and pushed back some. And I'm just gonna come down. So once again, that blue kind of stays in a row going down. We had masking on here, so that's why we're now gonna reclaim some of these cooler areas that we didn't have from before. We only had a couple of them. Get a little bit of with ultramarine blue. We'll throw that around the edges. Okay, better. So let's check our lines. So like that kind of go across. Pull a little of that in there. A little across. Clean that line up. Let's see, like a little line there. We're just making sure things are lining up across these rim, you know, like this threading here. I'm gonna get a little yellow. I see this had a little yellow line, and then the white, and then down here for sure. Okay. This is our bismuth vanadate yellow. Throw it, and we can pull from the pigment. This is gonna work to our advantage. It's got some metal, like, you know, little speckles and stuff through the silver part of this light bulb. So we're gonna use Payne's Gray and some of the pigment around it to kind of pull some color in, so it's not just straight up yellow in there. All right. You can decide down here, I'll add a little darker. I'm not gonna go right up into the yellow because I don't want it all to bleed in there, so I'm gonna take it right to there. Pull it down. Okay. Okay, so now earlier we did this area. In fact, well, let's stop and add what we need to in here. I'm gonna add a little bit of the pyrol red. I don't want to do so there's some dark threading lines in here, but we're not going to do that yet until we get the background finished behind it. So I'm adding some pyrol. Maybe I should have started with orange, but I'm going to do pyrol. We may add some orange in here or some opera just to, we're just getting that a little hotter, and I'm going to get a little pyro orange. We'll just drop a little pyrol in there. Okay. Drop, that's the pyrol orange on top of the pyrol red we're dropping in there. I have a clean brush now, and I'm just going to come and blend some of this. Okay, now my masking is gone here, so I'm going to take some horizon blue into these white areas. Just a little, tone down those white areas. Remember how I said you got to push some of them back? I'm going to push these back a little bit. Okay, much better. All right. So this is all drying. We're going to leave that and come back and do that while it's dry. So we'll come over here and work on this guy while things are drying. Okay. We may not be too far off. So we have some work to do up in this area. I'm going to go in with pyrol, I think. We may have to switch to purple, we'll see. So this lines up, you've got to kind of come across, it lines up here with the base of it's a reflection of this, the bottom of the light bulb in here. So we got to line it up, pulls down, and it ends right about here. So you got to kind of measure things as you go across. Okay, so we have that laid in with the red, and it actually kind of goes to the end of the light bulb there. We have it laid in with the red, and I'm going to drop a little quinn purple in while it's wet. Drop a little quinn, that darkens it up. And if you kind of do it in between, you know, like where the darker, like leave some little areas of red in between, it kind of mimics the threading of the light bulb. So we'll just kind of do that, taper off down here. It might be that it goes all the way to the edge there. Clean my brush, pull. Alrighty. So let's go and see what else we can do. So we'll do some pink, some opera pink right in here. We're gonna lay the shape out here. We're going to map this shape out. Okay. And I might take a little bright violet and drop it right in here. Right in this little shape. wipe my brush off and pull some pigment back out. All right, I'm gonna let that sit. And let's see if we can do any other shapes while we're at it. Okay, we're gonna get a little ultramarine blue. Just a thin little wash of it, and we'll kind of pull up on the side here. Oh, and there's some pretty stuff happening here. So in between, so we have these, this is the reflection of the threads right here. So they're coming over here and they're doing some cool things. I'm gonna add some dark and see how I kind of made it curve up with the light. And then I'm gonna add a little pink. This is the opera. Just dropping a little in there. And it gets a little darker on the edge, so we'll do a little of the quinn purple. Just drop a little in. Okay, and we might soften that in a minute. Or pull a little out now. To soften so it's not like a hard edge there. And then there's some pyrol red down here. Okay, we'll add a little opera pink right in there. All right, so that's that reflection. Let's see what else we're missing. Get a little quinn purple, and I'm going to come back here. This line that might be too dark. Maybe I should have done the bright violet, but what I'll do, I'll work with what I got right now and just lighten it by adding water, and that continues that band of color right there. And then we're going to come down here and drop in some little purple splotchies, little purple splotchies over here on this side. Stops there where that thing is. Okay, there's kind of like a ribbon of those reflections popping through, so that's where it stops. I'm gonna get a little more opera pink. Where am I going with that? Right in here. Okay. Soften some of this. I have some of the masking off and some of it's still on right here, so we'll take that off in a second. Alrighty, can we come up and work up here now? Alright, so we're gonna get our bismuth yellow. Bismuth vanadate. And we're gonna pull it right through here. And that little opaqueness is going over that middle section, and it's actually kind of doing what it's doing in the reference image. So I really love this bismuth vanadate yellow. I use it in just about all my paintings. All right, so maybe some wisteria, and I probably should wait for it to dry, but I'm impatient. So I'm gonna try not to touch the yellow and just drop a little wisteria in on that side. Oakley dokley, let's see. Get a little of the yellow and pop it in over here. Keep it out of that band of white that we have going on there. Kind of soften these guys. Okay, that helps with that wham, bam, bam triangle. Okay, and then we gotta let things dry. I had it pretty opaque there. Did you see kind of drawing on there with the yellow? All right, that's gotta dry, that's gotta dry. That is dry, so we can work on it. So we're gonna go back with our Payne's Gray. You can use the indigo sepia mixture as well, whichever one you want, but I'm gonna map in. Remember a little lighter color we used to map in first? Check. All right, so I'm gonna map in. I probably could wipe a little off. Okay, so it goes kind of in here, the wedge, and then there's a pink, and it kind of comes out here. Something like that. Just pulling from that Payne's Gray we have on there. Let's make sure things line up a little bit here. So line, 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 line. I don't want to draw on all of it, but I want to make sure it's lining up. I'm gonna get a little pink, come down the center of these dots. Pull some of the pink up. I don't want to lose them all. I lost some of them, but they're not super bright white everywhere. Let's see if we can get it back a little, some of them. Okay. All right, I come on this side with a little of the dark. I have a pretty much dry brush almost, so there's hardly any water, so that I can work right now. Throw a little pink in there. I don't want it to be totally dark. It could be orange too. Either one. Okay, we got a little pyrol orange glaze over that guy. Alright, that stays like that. Maybe a little bright violet. Still a bright violet. Okay. Let's go check out what's happening up here. I'm gonna get a little pyrol red. Getting some definition in here. That might be a little too harsh. Pull a little bit of it with the side of my brush, clean brush. Okay, we're gonna come over on this side with a little ultramarine blue. Over here. Pretty blue. Okay. Alrighty. Just gonna soften some edges. Look at the overall shape. Okay. All right, we're gonna ditch some of the masking. You really check with your finger, make sure it's dry enough. Mine is dry. If it's cool to the touch, it's not dry, and you don't want to rip your paper. Okay. All right, we're gonna do a little softening. My scrubber brush, I'm just gonna soften this up over here. Go in and soften some of these reflections so they're not so harsh where the masking fluid was. Or you can have your paper towel on standby so you can pull a little more pigment up that way. Rinse your brush often so that you don't pull pigment into the white areas. So you dump, rinse, rinse and repeat. Okay, that's a pretty hard edge over here, but not on this side. In fact, it's kind of pink in here, not really. Do a little of that and then pull up with paper towel. Okay, now then, this needs to be softer. What's happening here? And then, all right, so there's, I want to make sure this stays rounded, the bulb. So we'll go ahead and softly draw our bulb in, and we can pull. There was a little highlight that's kind of mixing in with the highlight on the other side, and I didn't want it to look like we didn't know where the edge of our bulb was. Okay. Just following the reference and seeing what's lighter, what needs to be highlighted, pulled out. Okay, this I'm going to switch to my round. Because I just want to soften the edges. So I don't want to get all the white covered with that scrubber brush. So I'm going to use the tip of my round brush to do this because I can have a little more control because it's a little more pointed. Wet your brush a lot. Okay. Alright, here's kind of a lost edge where the ribbon is kind of shooting through, but you lose the edge of the bulb there. It's kind of a neat area. Alright, soften again with our scrubber brush. This is one of those we're going to leave partially white and partially scrubbed out a little. Okay, we're going to soften this, and it's actually quite a bit pinker, so I'm going to add some opera pink. Okay, so we added some opera pink in there, and let's see, could add a little pink into that ribbon okay. All right, not bad. Okay, we're gonna add a little pink down here into the center of this guy. Now, it's not much, so I'm gonna clean it off just a little. Okay, now can we work up there yet? Let's see. Just softening the hard edge in this line. I don't necessarily want okay. I'm going to do some of these filaments with pink and purple. Still a little wet down in the bottom, so I can't work too much in there, but I can do some of this up here. Make sure you get a nice round tip. Get your point on your brush. We'll add, I think I'm going to add a little orange into this one. I like to have a little variety in these filaments. Where does that one go? And do it light touch. You don't want a harsh line going down in there. Dipping my hand into. Okay, got a little ultramarine blue. Drop it in there. Can put that into there. And we have enough, we can go ahead and do our center with our purple. Now we pulled our masking, so we're gonna have to go around some of this little color in here, like the white dot, yellow dot, and I have to left another little highlight on that side because we did pull the masking. Alrighty. Take bright violet. We're gonna get a little definition in this area down here. This is my bright violet, and I'm just picking up some shapes, doing some interesting things in here so it's not just a blob of orange. Get a little of the pyrol orange. I'll pull it over here. May need to add actually pyrol red, I think, because it's orange over here, and I need to add a little shape over here so you know what's going on. Alrighty. I'm gonna add a little bit of pink right in here. Okay. Just a little opera, and we're just pulling it into that one. All right, now we can get some definition over here in this guy. We'll do it with our quinn purple. Let's see, we'll get rid of a little of this. All right, Moose says hi. I'm gonna let him out. Be right back.